as you can see, she's joining us remotely, so thank you very much for being here. Well, let's start with the law, Snowball Effect. I know that the work that you do with Snowball Effect is to give ideas for people to become an impact entrepreneurs, and in particular showcasing ideas that are already working, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Tell us a bit more about how it works and the work that you do.
Yeah, exactly. So what we do is that we identify solutions that are having a great social or environmental impact and a proven business model. And we help them find entrepreneurs all over the world who are going to replicate the same concept by learning from their initial funders. So it's not like just there's an idea and I pick it up and I just copy it. It's I collaborate with their initial funders so that I develop a franchise, a license of the same concept or something different. I mean, there are different scaling models. So yeah, we give access to social entrepreneurship to people who are just not having an idea yet, but still the strong desire to do that.
If I don't know where to start, if I don't know where to go, let's look at projects that are already existing, already working, see if I can be involved in any of these projects and give them even more life. We're going to talk about some of the projects later, because now I want to also welcome Nguyen Kimani. Thank you very much for joining us from B-Lab East Africa. And she fosters impact, and the work that she does is fostering impact entrepreneurship in Africa, and also linking academic institutions in Africa with B Corps to facilitate graduates getting into impact careers. Nguyen, what's the reality in Africa, and what is some of the work that you're doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join even by remote and very excited to see NVU as well, which is a B Corp. There's a lot of opportunity. As you know, Africa is the youngest continent in the world right now. So very solution driven. We have very great opportunities to collaborate. We have a growing ecosystem in the impact space between impact accelerators, climate change champions, renewable energy solutions. So there's a lot of space to play in, even in consulting, I must say.
We're going to explore some of the opportunities that there are, in particular in Africa and East Africa, in a moment. I want now to introduce Ernst Hustra, from CEO of Erasmus Enterprise, and also on the board of MView, which helps concrete impact projects around the world. And in particular, you have an emphasis and focus on people development. So tell us a bit more about the work that you do in these two hats that you wear, of MView and also Erasmus Enterprise.
Yeah, thank you, Simona, and thanks for having me. And just to start off with Erasmus Enterprise, it's a daughter company of the university. And we are really tasked to give a real meaningful solution to exploiting your entrepreneurship. And most of the people here in the room, they're at university or higher education. And the things that you don't learn is often about experimentation, or that you are actually rewarded to start a venture. And it's actually discouraged most of the times. You don't get points for it, you don't get time for it, it's a lot of stress and pressure that you have. So what we have established as Erasmus Enterprise, it gives the people that safe space to actually experiment, to come up with an idea, to bring that further to the next step, to really see if that has a merit to it. The tagline for the university is creating positive societal impact. So henceforward, it's not that easy, because we have 4,000 scientists. If you would ask them individually, what does that mean? You get 4,000 different answers. So we feel that building a bridge, as entrepreneurship can be, to that tagline, creating positive societal impact, and as a pillar, we say act as an entrepreneur. And then with the emphasis on act. So do it, rather than sit on your hands, read the books, do your exams, but also explore life, right, with entrepreneurship. So we give them that safe space. And the second part I will allude on later on. Thanks.
So we're going to talk about MView in a moment, but that's the difference between learning and acting. And of course, we need to learn before we act, otherwise we don't know where to start and what to act on, but at the same time, we need to start taking action. Talking about actions, Nguyen, what is the reality in Africa in terms of industries that are growing in the social impact space from your point of view, and where are the opportunities?
So one of the greatest spaces right now is the agribusiness space. I think one of the things that COVID taught us is that we all have to eat, and it's an essential service to grow food and also distribute. So a lot of activity right now is around sustainable agriculture, um, distribution services also. Same thing with renewable energy, whether it's alternative or it's renewable, that space is really coming up. But interestingly, too, what we are seeing is there's a lot of conversation around the SDGs. And individual businesses, especially SMEs, also some large enterprises and financial institutions, are taking the sustainability issue very seriously and looking for ways in which they can improve their operations so that their businesses can be more sustainable, looking for tools that they can use to measure and manage their impact as they are doing that. So there's a lot of opportunity even in the consulting space to help the small businesses as well as the large enterprises who are on this journey to achieve certain SDG goals, to make sure that they are making the right decisions and the right changes, sensitizing their employees and their supply chains on the things that they can change to effectively attain whichever goals that they have set for themselves regarding sustainability. So those few, I would say, are the first point of starting.
And definitely, you mentioned the consulting space being a big one because businesses need to evolve, need to adapt, need to change, and most of the time they don't know where to go. So this is a big opportunity which is growing on top of the other sectors that you mentioned. I wanted to ask Alok in terms of opportunities now, because you see a variety of projects and a variety of business models. What are some of the business models that you see and that you offer as well with Snowball Effect when in terms of replicating something that is already existing?
So we have projects in the environment, the inclusion, and the education. So it's super broad. Actually, any type of project that is just positive can enter in the portfolio. It just needs to be local. And I like to have the example maybe of Green Salon Collective. So we have 18 solutions, and you can discover them all on our booth, actually. But in Green Salon Collective, they are recycling hair and chemicals from hair and beauty salons, and they transform them into composting, and they also create those type of little pillows of hair to soak oil in the water. And they have a really cool concept, and they are looking for franchisee all over the world. I like that project a lot. I like Ticket for Change too. I mean, I've been working for them before. It's school for change makers in France, and they're looking for people who are going to replicate the same concept everywhere as licensees. I don't know, many other, like 18. There's even Connexio in our portfolio. So, yeah, really a broad landscape.
What I'm curious about is also the business model, because
Yes.
I remember having a conversation when we were preparing for this panel, and I immediately mentioned franchising.
Yes.
Because when in
Yes.
terms of replicating something which is already existing, franchising is the first thing that comes to mind. But you said, no, franchising is not the only way.
No, yeah.
So what are some of the others?
There is quite a large spectrum coming from something that is more centralized, where the person who is going to replicate depends a lot on the initial team. So it could be a director for a new region, you're an employee. And then step by step, we go into something that is more, where you have more freedom as a replicator. So you can be a franchisee, you're your own boss, but you have the same brand. And then you can be in a license, so you have a little bit more flexibility. And then there are other models that people know less, though they're super impactful, where you replicate the same concept without necessarily replicating the same brand. And that's close to open source, actually. We have in our portfolio the first zero waste shop who was ever created in Germany in 2014. And now if you look at Europe, there's so many zero-rate shops everywhere. And it's partly because Milena Glebowski, the founder, created an online course to teach others how to do the same thing. Right. Even if it's not the same brand, it's just the same concept. And then there is a last very, very powerful one, it's affiliation. You do the same concept, different brand, but you're part of the same umbrella organization.
I love it. And there is one example I'm going to mention later that I saw at your stand that really caught my attention. But I want to move to Ernst now. And with MVU, you are really focusing on talent development and importance of talent development in particular, because we need great people to do great work. So what is the type of work that MVU does? What does he offer? And how does this talent development work?
Yeah, sure. Let me sort of just to finish probably off at university what you don't learn, right? Sort of, and then for instance, we run challenges really on certain themes like the energy transition. 35 teams are in there. They come up with ideas, and then what, right? Sort of, and this is also what NVU. NVU is a venture builder that was already started 2004. They started with their own activities to see sort of, hey, how can we make change and use venturing as a means to an end? So we have probably now started over 24 ventures at the moment. We start off with a good idea, a niche in the market. For instance, we are running a handful of projects in East Africa for food preservation, which is a big issue for the farmers. They want to sell their produce as quickly as possible because there's no meaningful way that they can preserve that part. So we set up a project together with local farmers, together with IKEA Foundation, actually to set up a solution. That's project managed partly with students, but also partly with volunteers, and partly also with people that really engage with that impact vision. It's a massive success. It has this societal sort of, I would say, dividend that you can create, but it's also a talent development thing, because the people that are executing in the project, there are the next generation who want to be part of that. So rather than they learn about the farming, they learn how to make that a better business model. Not only a better business model, but also creating impact. Yeah. And this is how you would like to advance and top that up into a sort of a staged layer. And starts as a small idea, building bigger and bigger, and yet this is also where you can create the impact. So again, comes back to the act now, what I alluded to earlier.
I can see the flow that there is from Erasmus Enterprise to MVU. It's almost like there is a start as Erasmus Enterprise, think about ideas and start getting your feet wet in different projects, and then building the venture with MVU and this incredible project and developing themselves and the skills that they are needed to make that happen.
Yeah, and it sounds very logical, and it's a little bit reverse engineered that it all makes sense. But at the end of the day, because it starts at different locations with a good idea, and you have to be enabling that part, capture that energy. So it has to have a certain structure, obviously, otherwise people would be running all directions. So you still have to give that a structure, but also kill ideas in an early stage. People have to get used to it. You know, it's not bad if we kill your idea because it's not carrying fruit literally in this instance. It's not flying, so we stop it, we go back to the drawing board, and we go for the next one. And that is so exciting because, especially the next generation, they love to work like that.
And sometimes it's also hard, being an entrepreneur myself, sometimes you get so in love with your idea that it's like, oh, this doesn't work, it's soul crushing, but at the same time it's a learning experience, and you develop all the skills that you had to develop in order to make it happen. And I want to talk about tools now. And Gwing, I know that B-Lab is an incredible resource for tools for social entrepreneurs, for people that want to have careers as a change maker. What are some of the tools that B-Lab offers, and where can people find them?
We have two tools at the moment. One is the B Impact Assessment tool. This is a tool that enables for-profit organizations to measure and manage their impact. The tool covers 5 different areas. So if you're building a business, really consider using this tool from the onset. It's going to help you set your foundation and then help you improve along the way. So it measures your governance. It would ask you questions relating to what kind of your governance practices you're putting in place to ensure that your business outlives you pretty much and has the impact that you're setting out for it to have. It also measures your relationship with your workers. So there's a workers section. We'll take you through all the policies that you need to put in place. So if you're looking for something that would act like a checklist for you to keep you on track, that would be helpful. It measures your impact on the environment. So as you're thinking about sustainable business practices or being a social entrepreneur, thinking about how your relationship with the environment affects your community, that's a good area to guide you around that. And because I have raised community, that's the next section. So that's section 4. And then the last section is the customers. So that's the B impact assessment tool. You can find it online at b-impactassessment.net. Then you can also consider our SDG Action Manager tool, which we co-designed with the UN Global Compact. And this one basically helps you decide which SDGs that you want to work towards as a business. It would ask you questions, it would give you ideas, it will create space for you to set goals for your business at the time. And if you're looking for a career in impact, this would also give you some ideas. One of the programs that we run at B Lab East Africa, and certainly I think in other B Labs, B Lab UK and B Lab Europe, they have the B Leaders program, where if you're a consultant and you're looking to help businesses that are on their way in this journey, you can take that course definitely and learn how to walk businesses on their impact journey.
That's brilliant. And how can people can find that? And where can people find the second assessment?
Still on our website, so you can go to b-labafrica.net.
And I remember the SDG management tool was actually launched here at Change Now. I think it was 3 years ago, if I remember well, with the UN. And I remember that moment. And I remember that I signed up immediately, and it was and I looked at it, and it's incredible for businesses. So thank you, Nguyen. Ernst, how about you? For students that they want to get involved, either with Erasmus Enterprise, or for people that want to develop careers as well, and they're interested also in getting involved in MView, what's the next step?
No, I think we are a Rotterdam-based university, right? So that we 40,000 students, 4,000 academics. So on both ends, we facilitate entrepreneurship, actually. And so if you want to get involved, it is also to challenge your own school, right? Your own faculties. And if they don't facilitate, step out of the line from time to time and actually start exploiting, right? Start exploring. And because this is also the time of life as a student that you can start doing so. A couple of friends of mine who are very successful entrepreneurs, they never graduated. I shouldn't be promoting that part, but the end of the day,
you got one here.
we all know how that runs. Not all of the subjects might be equally of interest to you. So take that plunge from time to time. 6 months out, you haven't achieved anything. You can always go back to university, right? Yeah. I would definitely encourage that. If you want to do in the impact space, NVU can offer, obviously, there are solutions. So nvu.org is the organization that I represent here as well. Obviously, this is also where people can sign up or help in that space. And it's massively interesting. I must say, I'm super impressed by the people that not only their minds, but also put their heart to something and give that specific boost within that framework of entrepreneurship and making great impact.
And I think that's the main difference of social entrepreneurs. Every social entrepreneurs I've ever met, they put their heart and soul in every single project because they're not just doing it because there is an opportunity to make money. They're doing it because they care, they deeply care, and it's core to them. And so thank you for the work that you're doing. Laure, how about you? So someone wants to get involved with the Snowball Effect. They want to explore some of the projects, which I actually want to mention one that I saw in the list of projects that you show me at the stand was the Library of Everything, if I remember well. And it's an incredible concept of a library where instead of renting books, you can actually rent everything.
Things. Yeah, things.
Things, not everything, but things. And that was, for me, an exceptional concept that can help use material more and more and use goods more and more. But if someone wants to explore some of these projects, what's the best way?
You just go on snowball-effect.org. You see the list of projects, and then you click on the button, and then we have a first talk with you, and we tell you what are the next steps if you want to go further on that very specific project. And if you're still hesitating and you don't know if social entrepreneurship is made for you and replicating one is made for you, then we also have another program related to career coaching and how to know, yeah, what career path is made for you in the impact industry.
Yeah, I know you have an assessment on that, right?
Yeah, we do have a
Tell us
quiz,
more
yeah.
about the assessment, because I know that there are a lot of people
Yeah.
that they don't have a clue where to start. So I want to make a difference. Where do I
Yeah.
start? I don't know.
There is actually so many ways. I mean, right now we are talking about entrepreneurship mostly in that session, but you can have an impact in your career with various different ways. Social entrepreneurship is one, replicating is one, but also being an intrapreneur inside your company, or being an employee, or being a freelancer in this whole industry. And so it's just a quiz you can find on our website, snowball-effect.org/quiz, and we will just ask you a few questions to just have a first feeling of which path is the one for you. Yeah, because you have several criteria that you can check.
Thank you very much for developing that. That's an incredibly useful tool. I have a final question that I want to ask. Wing, from your experience, if someone doesn't know where to start and doesn't have a starting point, because I think there is sometimes a lot of pressure in creating a career in the social impact space. We talk about purpose and your calling, and someone says, oh, I don't know what it is. What is the best place to start, in your opinion?
The first thing that I'll advise is just plug in. Find something that you feel drawn to and plug in somewhere in the ecosystem, even if it's as a volunteer or, as Laura said, as an entrepreneur, you can work for a social enterprise and start learning. You can take a course or you can take her quiz, like she mentioned, because I feel like in that journey, along the way, you'll find what is drawing you and which space that you think that would mirror or marry the skills that you currently have. So you need to get inspiration, you need to plug in, and then you jump.
So inspiration, blogging, find resources, and then jump in it. Ernst, how about you? If someone doesn't know where to start, what would you be your recommendation?
Yeah, obviously also test with your peers. Sometimes it really helps. You know, validate, validate, validate. You know, if you have a good idea, test it out in your direct environment, but really be disciplined about it, right? Sort of. And the second thing, sort of, in this domain that we're all operating in, there's a lot of opportunity, right? There's new business models need to be emerged, and don't, you know, start a career in something and you still keep that, you know, creeping up your spine from time to time, you know, and then sort of sometimes it emerges to you, right? So just be open, keep your radar open. That is super important. And I would suggest also, don't forget that it has to make some impact in monetary related activity, right? Not saying that you need to be the next unicorn, but think about it. So what is the real business model? How do we make money, and how do we going to build that and still making impact? And you can marry the both worlds. We had some great sessions that we saw that it can happen.
Absolutely. So we can marry profitability and impact. Thank you very much, Ernst. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Nguyen. Thanks for being here. Give them a massive round of applause, please.